They told him she was invisible. For 5 years, Robert Mitchell didn't just ignore his wife, Eris. While he played CEO at a Manhattan venture capital firm, Sophia worked 3 jobs to pay for his expensive habits. But when she finally signed those divorce papers, Robert had no idea he was setting off a financial time bomb that would destroy everything he'd built. Because Sophia wasn't just the woman he threw away. She was the woman he'd been stealing from. The lawyer's office occupied the entire 50th floor of a glass tower in Manhattan, the kind of place where the furniture cost more than most people's entire houses. Robert sat across from Sophia, his face arranged in that practiced expression of casual indifference he'd perfected over their marriage. He'd worn his best Tom Ford suit for this. Power move. "Let's make this simple," Robert said, straightening his cufflinks. "I'll keep the penthouse, my investment portfolio, and the cars. You get the house in the Hamptons and $200,000. That's more than generous for someone like you."
Oh, Mom.
Someone like you. Sophia had heard that phrase 1,000 times. Someone like you doesn't belong in his world. Someone like you isn't talented enough. Someone like you isn't beautiful enough. The divorce lawyer, a woman named Catherine Price who charged $800 an hour, didn't even glance up from her papers. She'd seen this 100 times before, the trophy wife being tossed aside for someone younger, thinner, more useful. "The agreement is ready for signature," Catherine said coolly. Sophia reached for the pen. Her hand was steady. There were no tears in her eyes. In fact, there was something in her expression that made Robert uncomfortable. It was the look of someone who knew something he didn't. She signed her name, Sophia Lena Mitchell. Then she paused. "What?" Robert snapped, annoyed by the hesitation. "Nothing," Sophia said softly. "I just wanted to remember this moment." She stood up, gathered her things, and walked toward the door. Robert expected her to cry, to beg, to make some pathetic plea for more money. Instead, she simply turned the doorknob. "Wait," Robert called out. "You're forgetting something." Sophia turned back. "What?" "Your wedding ring." Sophia looked at the simple platinum band on her finger. She smiled a strange, knowing smile and slipped it off. She placed it on the mahogany table. It made a small, delicate clink. "Keep it," she said. "You might need to sell it soon." And then she left. 3 days later, Robert was sitting in his home office when his personal assistant, Derek, burst through the door, looking terrified. "Robert, you need to call your accountant. Immediately." "What's wrong?" "Everything. There's a federal investigation. The SEC is freezing all your accounts. They're saying you've been running a Ponzi scheme for the last 3 years." Robert's blood went cold. "That's impossible. I don't run a Ponzi scheme. My firm is legitimate. They have documentation, falsified records, fake client portfolios. The whole thing is falling apart. And, Robert, they're saying the accounts were set up using someone else's social security number." Robert felt his stomach drop. The investigation revealed everything. Every fraudulent investment, every fake client, every dollar he'd stolen from actual investors to fund his lifestyle. Someone had meticulously documented everything, creating a paper trail so clear that even a first-year prosecutor could understand it. The evidence had been compiled by an anonymous source, a source who had been inside his firm, a source who had access to every file, every email, every transaction, a source named Sophia. But by the time the lawyers came for Robert, he'd already lost everything. His apartment was seized, his investments were frozen, his firm was shut down. The news media called it the biggest financial fraud scandal in New York in a decade. But the most shocking part wasn't the arrest. It was the revelation that came next. Catherine Price, the lawyer from the divorce proceedings, held a press conference. She announced that Sophia Elena Mitchell had been working with federal investigators for 2 years. She had been documenting her husband's crimes, gathering evidence, and preparing the case that would finally bring him down. The divorce? It wasn't just a breakup. It was a trap. "My client," Catherine announced, "was instrumental in recovering over $240 million in stolen assets. The federal government is offering her a substantial reward, $12 million for her cooperation and evidence." The camera flashed. The reporters shouted questions, and somewhere in the back of the courthouse, Sophia Elena Mitchell smiled and walked out into the New York sunshine. 6 months later, Sophia opened a restaurant in Brooklyn, not because she needed the money the federal reward had made her rich, but because it gave her purpose. It gave her a life that was hers. She'd spent 5 years in Robert's Shada, playing the role of the forgettable housewife. Meanwhile, she'd been building the case against him, brick by brick, document by document. Every time he yelled at her, every time he ignored her, every time he called her someone like you, she was gathering more evidence. Robert received a 15-year sentence for fraud. The press called it a modern-day marriage war. Some people thought Sophia was a hero. Others thought she was a villain. But Sophia didn't care what people thought anymore. She'd learned a long time ago that the woman people ignore is often the most dangerous. The woman in the background doesn't raise her voice. She just changes the game entirely. What do you think? Did Sophia deserve her revenge? Or did she go too far? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. If you loved this story of betrayal and justice, smash that like button and subscribe for more. See you in the next one.